Joining us now is Cynthia Are with stories trending around the world. Hello, Cynthia.
Good morning, Dr. Bati. Good morning, Tundu.
Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Cynthia.
And good morning to our viewers. We begin with what's happening in Lebanon. The legendary Robin Hood was renowned for taking from the rich and giving to the poor. But for a Lebanese woman, she's become famous for robbing a bank for what was rightfully hers. The woman in question held staff hostage at a bank in Lebanon's capital, Beirut, demanding they let her withdraw frozen savings to pay for her sister's medical bills. She took this decision when the bank manager told her that she could only withdraw $200 per month when the treatment cost $50,000. She left the bank after reportedly being given $13,000, and it's not clear if she's been arrested. But a man who seemed motivated by her act held up a bank in LA in a similar attempt to get his savings. They were the latest such incidents in weeks as anger boils over among Lebanese as restrictions imposed because of an economic crisis. Tundu, I watched that video and, I didn't know where to stand because I could see reason with what the lady did. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Her wanting to, save her sister costs $50,000 and the limit of $200. So the good thing is that gun wasn't actually real, but she did what it seemed like she had to do. I'm wondering how this came across to you.
Well, she's going to jail.
No,
let's
for sure.
Let's start there. I do feel for her, and it is her money, and she's just really expressing the same frustration a lot of other citizens feel when their money has been trapped for years now as a result of the economic crisis going on in their country. And she has a really good reason for doing what she did because her sister's illness. It reminds me of that movie, John Q, Denzel Washington, played perfectly as usual, a father who created this awful hostage situation, but for the best reasons, trying to save his son's life. But that's neither here nor there. If you do break the law, you must go to jail. And she has robbed a bank. Mm-hmm. And she came there with a gun, even though it's a toy gun. That has never really stopped judges all over the world, Nigeria and elsewhere, from sentencing people. So it's not like she's going to get a particularly heavy sentence, but she has to go to jail because of the greater good. As a result of her behavior, other people might decide to do the same thing, like the person you just referred to who got arrested. So that has to be stopped. So some kind of message has to be sent. But what really should be done is addressing the needs of people, addressing what actually made her commit such a crime, the desperation. A woman of 28 ordinarily has better things to do than to go stick up a bank. This is awful that she has been reduced to this by her own government. And this is how governments all over the world, including ours, let people down constantly. But she will be punished for this, unfortunately.
She will.
And I wanted to say something about that. That was a good point you raised there, Tundu, about how government let us down. And that's why, you see, when we all come here and scream that things should be done properly, it's because we are saving ourselves. This is a country that had money at some point. But guess what? Corruption was the order of the day. And Lebanon pretty much reminds me of Nigeria. Because there's a lot of religious balancing too in Lebanon. Maronite Christian president, Shia Muslim. But guess what? Across board, massive corruption. And they have destroyed their country because of corruption in Lebanon. The corruption, when I meet a lot of Lebanese people, they tell me that you think you have corruption in Nigeria? Come to Lebanon. They have ran the country aground. And it's so bad now because of poor management that people have to resort to this. It doesn't make it right. Mm-hmm. She's wrong. She will do the time in jail. She will go through all the legal process. But it's an indictment on the government. And it's not only Lebanon we've seen this happen. We saw this happen in Greece when they had an economic meltdown. This was the same Greece a couple of years before that used a lot of money, over $6 billion, to host the Olympics. But because of bad management, they ran the economy aground. So this is a clarion call to Nigerians. That's why when we speak about the economy, please, it's because we want to save ourselves. We pray that we don't get to a day in Nigeria where people go to the bank and they said there's no money. But the question is, are we not there here already? Can you go and withdraw $5,000 or $10,000 from your own bank account now?
Well, I share the views that have been expressed. Lebanon, Sri Lanka, Venezuela. These are examples of countries where, as a result of misgovernance and leadership crisis, the people are the ones holding the short end of the stick. In an attempt to solve the problem, these countries, including Lebanon, run to IMF. They look for help everywhere. But even when they have not succeeded, as Lebanon has not succeeded in reorganizing its debts with the help of the IMF, you find a situation whereby there's social chaos. In Lebanon, there's high unemployment rate, inflation is, sky high, and then, of course, power cuts, violence. And then on top of all of this, 2 years ago, the Lebanese authorities said, look, they are introducing a forex policy, whereby no matter the amount you have in the banks, you cannot take out more than $200, in a month, driving the people to desperation. Now, this lady, her name is Sally Harvest. She's not the first person to do this. A few weeks back, one man in this same Beirut held people in the bank hostage for 10 hours. He didn't allow the hostages to go until he collected his money. So that man was considered a hero. Sally Harvest is also considered a hero by the people of Lebanon.
Yes.
In fact, she didn't go alone. She went with some activists who call themselves Depositors Outcry. She carried a toy gun. The other ones came with jerry cans of petrol. And they poured petrol in the banking hall. And they say, if you don't give us our money, we will burn down this place. So that's the extent to which people can become desperate. So you have the man in Beirut weeks ago. You have Sally Harvest. This time around, there will be more.
Indeed.
Who will go to the banks to say, give us our money. In Sally Harvest's case, our argument was that, look, she has a sister who needs to be treated for cancer. And you are sitting on my money. She has $20,000 dollars in her account. She was able to live with $13,000. Even if they punish her, she probably wouldn't be bothered. At least that $13,000 will go into the treatment of her sister. And I hope Nigeria will not reach a point where Nigerians too will go into the banks. And Rufai will say, Tunu, please come with me. Dr. Abati, come to me with me. Let's carry placards. Let's go and attack a bank to collect our money. I hope we won't get to that.
Rufai, please don't do that.
Because you don't know, if Rufai has dollars in the bank and they don't want to give him, and he says, follow me in solidarity, we will go with him.
We'll never do that. We'll never do that.
Don't even bother asking.
I'm just joking.
Of course,
That's
of course.
on the
Thank you so much.
side.
But on a more serious note, even right here in Nigeria, the Abuja NSAS panel probing allegations of human rights violations committed by the defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad and other units of the Nigeria Police awarded $289 million to 74 victims of gross human rights violations. Speaking during the ceremony, the Commission's Executive Secretary, that's Anthony Ojukwu-San, explained that the government has acknowledged its mistakes and is ready to assuage the feelings of those victims. In his words, the ceremony today is to tell you that we have acknowledged the violation of your rights and we are putting this forward in good faith to say we're sorry. He also said the amount paid would not solve all the problems, but would ensure that where there is a violation of rights, there must be a remedy. Rufai, I'm wondering how this comes across to you. Of course, it can't replace life for those who were killed, but this is the case of the government saying we actually violated your human rights, admitting to that. So who holds the government accountable, even if they're compensating victims of the NSAS protests?
Who holds the authority accountable? That's a very good one. The people should hold the authority accountable. Should we have even gone through the whole gamut of NSAS in the first place if the people were listened to? I don't think so. Yes, you've paid these people after a very long while. Lagos had completed that last year. Abuja is just completing it now. Will this money bring the people back that died in NSAS in Abuja?
Exactly.
Does this compensation cover the people that we saw that died during the NSAS in Abuja? Because not only in Lagos people died, people also died in Abuja, that were attacked. Also, has this stopped police brutality? No. Are the 545 demands by the protesters, have they been met? You can be the judge for that yourself. The only thing that has happened is PHCN. You know when they say PHCN in Nigeria, problem has changed name. That's the only thing that has happened. They've disbanded SARS then. Where did they take the police officers to? They put them still in the system, so the problem changed name. Are police officers not still harassing people till date? You be the judge of that. Like I always say, it is righteousness that will exalt a nation. When we are ready to fix our police force, we'll fix it. Are we ready now? No. You can even see what's happening even in the police force, with the Police Service Commission. You can see the brickbat, the infighting, even as regards recruitment. What is the state of our police training colleges all over the country? Try going to one of them.
Oh, I have been.
If you see the way police officers are trained in this country, you wouldn't be surprised the way they behave. It speaks volume of us as a nation. But see, you go to other climes, you see the way police behave, then you see the way Nigeria police behave, then you wonder what is happening. We are not ready yet. The day we are ready, we'll do the needful.
I hope that day comes sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for your thoughts anyway. Now, in other news, the Labour Party has called on security agencies to place Festus Keyamo, that's the spokesperson of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council, on a security watch list. The party was responding to Keyamo's allegation that Peter Obi, the standard bearer of Labour Party, was planning to fake an assassination attempt by hiring hoodlums wearing APC caps and T-shirts to attack his party offices. According to the spokesperson of the Labour Party, the security chiefs should place Keyamo on a watch list for unlawful and treasonable activities in the country. On his part, Keyamo is convinced that Obi wants to cause a religious crisis in Nigeria by circulating hate messages against Tinubu and failing to apologize for his action. According to him, it's obvious Mr. Peter Obi wants to cause religious crises in the country, and for this, he's calling on security agencies to place him on security watch or invite him for a thorough investigation. And he says if it's necessary, he's also prepared to be invited as a witness to prove his case against him. Dr. Bati, this has been going on for the better part of the week.
Well, I think yesterday we talked about this, even if in parentheses. And the point that we made yesterday is that, look, politicians should learn to conduct their business within the bounds of decency and act like sportsmen and not play the politics of do or die, as Nigerians apply that phrase. And in this particular case, there was a footage showing Mr. Peter Obi saying that, look, some people are threatening this and that, and they are trying to set him up and all of that. Well, nobody should set anybody up. Nobody should be threatened, either for religious or ethnic reasons. And anybody who is threatening, any kind of violence or crisis, who become persons of interest thereby, should be put on a security watch list, because the security agencies themselves have a responsibility, to ensure that the peace of the community is maintained. Elections should not lead to violence or death or unnecessary acrimony. We've just seen the process that had been completed in Kenya, and they've had successful elections that the people, have faith in. Now, that should be an example for us here in Nigeria. And we keep saying that surrogates and their principals, that is, these agents of political leaders, they also must focus on the issues rather than on anything that can heat up the polity. I think that the principles are not so difficult to understand, although I know that there are so many persons who want to impress their principals and who, out of overzealousness, would try to create further tension in the country. It is for the people of Nigeria to decide when it is election day, and it is their choice to make whoever they prefer. And whoever is chosen at the end of the day, should act after the fashion of a gentleman. Those are the basic principles we just have to keep reminding everyone. And with all this kind of divisive rhetoric coming from different directions, then the security agencies certainly have their work cut out for them. And the security agencies themselves must ensure that they are non-partisan in the matter, because part of the fear is that some people having certain advantages could use the apparatus, the instruments of coercion of state power, to intimidate others. That also should not be allowed.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Abati. Now, we're going to go to other stories that are trending. Household staff who served King Charles while he was heir to the British throne have already been told that they could lose their jobs drawing criticism from a labor union that called the move heartless before Queen Elizabeth is even buried. King Charles, who succeeded his mother on her death last Thursday, and his wife Camilla, the Queen Consort, will be moving from Clarence House, that's his London home for decades, to the monarch's main official residence, Buckingham Palace. Now, up to 100 employees have been told that they could lose their jobs, some who had worked there for even decades. They include personal servants such as footmen, valets, dressers, and cooks, as well as clerical staff. The Public and Commercial Services Union condemned the decision to announce redundancies during the mourning period as heartless. Well, we'll discuss that, but there's still more on that, on what's happening in the United Kingdom. The British press have had what some call a vile coverage of Harry and Meghan since the death of the Queen. Right from the announcement of the Queen's passing, some Brits took to social media to blame the demise of the Queen on Meghan and Harry, causing her so much pain that she died. There have also been numerous interpretations of King Charles' speech. Some analysts say that while he bestowed the title of Prince and Princess of Wales to William and Catherine, he seemingly love-bombed Harry and Meghan while letting them know that they couldn't make their way back into the royal family. There have also been predictions that Harry and Meghan will be consigned to what the British press tags the oh-so-humiliating second-row status. These and a lot more have caused this video to resurface on social media and caused it to go viral.
Within the first 8 days of our relationship being made public was when it said Harry's girl almost straight out of Compton, and that her exotic DNA will be thickening the royal blood. We would get followed, photographed, chased, harassed. The clicking of cameras and the flashes of cameras makes my blood boil. It makes me angry. It takes me back to what happened to my mum, what I experienced when I was a kid.
That's enough.
But it went to a whole new depth with not just traditional media, but also social media platforms as well. I felt completely helpless. I thought my family would help, but every single ask, request, warning, whatever it is, just got met with total silence or total neglect. I then had a son who I'd far rather be solely focused on, rather than every time I look in his eyes, wondering whether my wife is going to end up like my mother and I'm going to have to look after him myself. That was one of the biggest reasons to leave. Feeling trapped and feeling controlled through fear, both by the media and by the system itself, which never encouraged the talking about this kind of trauma. But certainly now, I will never be bullied into silence. Do I have any regrets? Yeah, my biggest regret is not making more of a stance earlier on in my relationship with my wife and calling out the racism when I did. History was repeating itself. My mother was chased to her death while she was in a relationship with someone that wasn't white. And now look what's happened. You want to talk about history repeating itself? They're not going to stop until she dies. It's incredibly triggering to potentially lose another woman in my life. And it all comes back to the same people, the same business model, the same industry. Isn't this all about breaking the cycle? Isn't this all about making sure that history doesn't repeat itself? That whatever pain and suffering has happened to you that you don't pass on?
Well, I remember seeing that video a while ago and seeing it again. Still, it's reminiscent of what they've expressed their experience to be. Some people say that they were lies, but I think it's their experience, and you can't really call another person's experience lies. But I'm really wondering what you're thinking seeing this video again.
I see it slightly differently from what you described, that people saying that Harry and Meghan are responsible for the death of the Queen. I actually thought he must be relieved that the Queen did not pass away after his book was released, because he has a book in the pipeline. Can you imagine if she passed away a day or a week or a month after? He would definitely have been blamed unfairly, clearly, for her death. So I thought, oh, he's so lucky. The book has nothing to do with it. But I guess people will find a way to lie and just tar you with the wrong brush entirely. But I don't think Prince Charles was love bombing them in any way, not at all.
That's my
I
thought
thought that
as
was actually
well.
very nice, and I'm hoping that the whole family settled their little dispute. Personally, for me, I thought, yeah, it was a really beautiful, dignified ceremony for the Queen, that whole procession. But I did wonder why Prince Harry and Prince Andrew were not in uniform like everybody else. Prince Andrew, I get it. What he did was criminal, completely reprehensible on every level. But surely Harry was not accused of essentially pedophilia. Harry is not the most disgusting person in the family, so why was he punished in that way? Yeah, he quit. He's no longer a working royal, but I think Andrew should have been singled out for that shame of being the only one, because he has brought shame on his family in a way that nobody else has done, certainly not in recent history. That is Andrew, not Harry. So I don't see why he was given the same part. I thought that was really quite harsh for Prince Harry. What exactly did he do, really, when you compare to the disgusting things that Prince Andrew was accused of? Exactly. Like, that is nauseating. That man did not think about his family, didn't think about his mother, didn't think about his children. He's the only one that should have been shamed in that way. I'm not allowed to wear a uniform. But I wanted to say something very quickly about NSAS. I feel like the Nigerian youths did not take the law into their own hands in the way we saw with the lady in Lebanon. Even though they were sorely provoked, they just exercised their fundamental human right to peaceful protest, and look at where that ended them. It's really unfair what happened, and it's really unfair that those people, yes, I'm glad compensation has been paid, but the people who perpetrated these acts of police brutality are still walking up and down completely unharmed. They have not been jailed as they ought to be jailed. People need to go to jail. It's not about money, that's the bottom line. Whether you're Prince Andrew, whether you're like some police officer that exceeded, your trigger-happy police officer, you should be jailed. It's not just about compensation.
Two quick comments. First, on Clarence House, from which Prince Charles is moving, now going to Buckingham Palace, and the fact that about 100 of his staff have been served redundancy notices. Where the explanation that was given in that regard is that the portfolio of work will change. The prince is now king and is going to move to Buckingham Palace, so some people will just have to go. But what I think it's not so neat is the fact that this was happening while the Queen is just still being buried. So the timing could be unsettling, because those staff too, it's not impossible that they are also in a mourning mood, only to be told that no more work for you, about 100 of you. However, we're told that they will be assisted to get jobs in other places within the royal family or outside of the royal family. After all, the corgis, you talked about the corgis the other day, Prince Andrew is going to inherit them. He probably will need additional staff to help look after them. And then as for Prince Harry and his travels, well, the British media, particularly of the tabloid variety, they tend to be very harsh towards Harry and Meghan for obvious reasons. But I thought it was good optics yesterday to see the Warren Royals, the four of them, the Fab Four, as they are referred to, walking shoulder to shoulder in honor of the Queen. However, as for Harry not wearing the uniform, well, I thought the explanation was that he has stepped down from royal duties. But it was in Afghanistan. It was in Afghanistan twice. He knows the military tradition and all of that. Andrew, as for Andrew.
That's a black sheep.
Indeed. Well, that's all I have for you on what's trending. And thank you for having me.